Hi, this is Carol Ann Sherman, and I'm going to take this opportunity to talk to you about a little bit of batik on rice paper. I like to affectionately call it Skillet Batik because I use a plain old kitchen skillet to melt down the wax. It is made with just plain old Gulf wax, which is when you're finished with all your canning and putting up for the season, you can use the rest of the wax to batik with. So the first thing that I like to do is get my drawing down. And I normally will do it by laying out my piece of paper, putting the size canvas that I'm going to mat this on right on top of the paper, tracing around it so I know exactly how big I want my drawing to be so I can fit my composition into it. This would be like the one we're going to work on today. So what I would do is just lay it down there, trace around it, and we will know exactly where we want everything to be. So we're going to start, and this is what I would do. I would come in here and take a permanent waterproof marker, go over this and do my image on my rice paper. See what we've got, see what we need. One more line here. Now this is a very important step. When you get your painting, your drawing actually, almost done on this initial drawing, I want you to go in and write your name on the bottom. And the reason I tell you to do that first is that once you start putting hot wax on this and layers of paint, this is all about layering hot wax paint, and once you get a few layers of wax on here, you sometimes can't tell which is the front and which is the back. So if you can't read your name like that, you know you're on the back. And this is going to be your finished piece. This one we can set aside for now. The next thing we're going to do is take Gulf wax, which is heated to 210 degrees. If it's not at 210 degrees, sometimes the layers of wax will not seal. And when you go to take it off or you go to crackle it, you won't get the right effect. So what we're going to do next is, I'm first going to do reserved whites. In this case, I'm doing reserved beige because that's what color the paper is. So I'm going to take this little Creative Mark cat's tongue shaped brush, go into the hot wax, and I'm going to look at this one, say, gee, I think I will keep some lights up around here. The wax comes off the brush pretty fast. It's not the same as working with watercolor, so you're going to have to keep dipping. And we're done. Now the wax process, this part of the process is pretty quick. It will not take a long time. It's dry already. We'll go back in there and we'll apply our first coat of watercolor. And where you have put the wax resist, it's just like any other resist you use. If you use masking fluid, you're going to have the same effect. So if you're used to doing that, this is basically the same thing. Okay, and the next thing we're going to do is let this dry before we move on to the next step. We're going to pick up kind of where we left off, but in the interest of saving time, we're going to switch images. If you remember correctly, in our last segment, we were working on another picture of some tulips. This is a partially done picture of some dogs, which we will do a little more work on. It is all dry. It's very important that you let the watercolor dry before you add any more wax. Otherwise, it will not adhere, most likely. So what I'm going to do now is take my 210 degree wax, get my brush wet. This one has been waxed and painted already. I'm going to wax it and paint it a little bit more. I see that I want to retain some of these light colors in here, so I'm going to go right over them with the hot wax. The hot wax comes off your brush much faster than the watercolor does, so keep in mind that you have to keep dipping your brush. So we have this one waxed. These dry in almost no time from the wax. It's the watercolor that takes longer. All right, we're going to go back to little burnt umber. We're going to darken the dogs up a little bit where we can. I'm going to mix a little permanent orange in with that just to give them that dachshund color. And we're going to go in and see where the paint will take. Let's get some darks in here. Little bamboo green as we come over to this side of the painting. Finish off this side. And that completes that part of this painting. It now has to dry so we can put another coating of wax on it. At this point, this painting is almost finished. It needs a few minor touches to it, but if it were all completely finished, the next process would be to take a 3-inch brush with a stiff bristle, wax the entire paper, only on the front side, wax every bit of your painting. And once you get it all waxed like that, what you're going to do is take it, and don't be scared, you're going to crumple it up like this, and that will cause the wax to crackle. This is the part of batik that's so much fun and gives it such a distinctive look. Once it's completely crackled like that, you want to do that part outside because you don't want to get wax in your house or any of your friends if you want to stay friendly with them. So you wax that outside, you crinkle it up. The next thing you're going to do is take a fairly stiff brush and pick a color to go over it. As you can see in this one, I've used a neutral tint. All these little extra lines that are in here are neutral tint, and they came in after this last waxing process. So what you would do is come into this waxed and crackled painting. You would take a very stiff brush with some neutral tint or whatever color. You can even go with a light opaque if you want. On this one, I probably would go fairly dark, and you would paint over the whole thing with an extremely heavy coat. The next thing would be to iron it to get all the wax off it completely. Lay out just a big stack of old used newspapers. You're going to lay it between a few lines of newspaper, and you're going to put maybe 4 pieces on top of it and a big stack under it to start. Iron it. Take the waxy paper off, take the waxy paper out from underneath, iron it again, and keep ironing with newspaper until the newspaper is coming up clean. So what you would do at that point is we'll make believe that this one is all completed and batiqued and waxed and ready to be mounted. Take your canvas, cover it with a coating of matte medium. I usually do about 3/4 to 1/4 parts of matte medium and water, the 3/4 being the matte medium. Look for the back of your painting. My signature goes that way, so I know this is the back. I would lay this down. I have all this excess, so what I would do is figure out that I need about, so much to wrap the canvas. Cut that off, and we're going to wrap it just like you would wrap a gift for a birthday or for Christmas. You're going to lay it right on those lines. You're going to put the matte medium all up the sides and even on the back. The next thing you're going to do is press this. You're going to wrap the corners. You're going to cut them just like you're doing a gift. Cut the corners out so that we don't have any interference. And you're going to just wrap it and press these in place. I do not have the matte medium on it, so it's not going to stick. But I can give you a good idea of what it's going to look like. And your painting will come out looking like this, and you can have a completed project. And that's how we do Skillet Batik, and I hope you'll join me again for a little more detailed information. I'm looking forward to showing you the whole story in my DVD. Please visit my website. I am Carol Ann Sherman, and my website is carolannshermanstudio.com. Thank you so much.